if you back red flag laws as some reflexive response to some emotion that you have, you betray your voters. You are a traitor to the Constitution, the Second Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. You do nothing to make mass shootings less likely. And you put a target on the back of your constituents to be subject to bizarre proceedings that you wouldn't see in any other type of circumstance that has a profound impact on your rights. And these will be abused. They are being abused. I think there's some that would probably red flag some of your colleagues in the Senate.
As we just read, many of whom are retiring, so they're beyond the reach of voters, have the backing of the top Republican in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. So what exactly are they backing when they back red flag laws? Well, we can take Florida's experience as an example. In Florida, the police can seize guns from people who pose a, quote, significant danger based on, quote, any relevant evidence. That's it. Any relevant evidence. The law raises some obvious questions. And the most obvious is, if you can seize people's guns without proving that they committed a crime, why can't you imprison them without proving they committed a crime? If you can take their guns, why can't you take their homes? Why can't you empty their bank accounts? Ooh, sound paranoid? Alex Jones stuff? That just happened in Canada. So what stops it from happening here? We already know the authorities are abusing the red flag laws already on the books. Kendra Paris is a lawyer based in Florida who specializes in them. In a recent interview, she said clients who are able to hire lawyers have, quote, vastly higher odds of getting their firearms back from the government. Of course. Laws like this always penalize the weakest. She said courts are taking a, quote, better safe than sorry approach to avoid political blowback, and the police are taking advantage of that. So court records show that cops in Florida often show up to the homes of citizens and present them with, quote, stipulations.
If there is a threat, there are options. Florida's red flag laws can take away your guns temporarily if you made a credible threat. Many, including the governor, are behind it.
But I just want us to be responsive to that. And the vast majority of these incidences have had red flags. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglas report made that clear. So I think we need to identify that and do something about it.
Last week, Florida launched a threat assessment portal for schools and law enforcement to share information which will be confidential. And a statewide app called Fortify Florida allows anyone to report suspicious activity anonymously.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the
That was better than I thought.
Episode number 48. I'm glad that you approved of it, Tim, for the cold open. We are the Swamp Creatures. I am Duke Chastain, and welcome this evening on Juneteenth, ladies and gentlemen. We are joined tonight by a man who has decided to buck a lot of people's what they want to see out of the LP, and he is running against Red Flag Ron DeSantis, and he is Hector Roos. How are you doing this evening, sir?
All right, I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
You're very welcome. And of course, we're joined as always with Josh Halofka, Tim Crosby, Mitch Connor, and the returning ginger of our heart, Rob, not a lawyer still. How are we doing, boys?
What's going on, man?
Lovely Saturday evening.
What's up?
What are we drinking? Josh, what have you drinking this evening, bud?
Time to pour it up. Another night for the captain.
Very beautiful. Tim, what are we doing here, sir?
I'm joining Josh, Captain. I got the 100 proof spiced rum. I don't know what you got, but that's what I got.
I
Going
got
a little
standard spice.
Now, is the 100 proof with the handle fancier than the normal? Is it like, or is it better?
Absolutely. Look at this shit.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it's not worse. Okay. Rob, what do you got this evening, good sir?
Got some Johnny Walker Black Label because I got it in a gift package from my buddy Colin, who asked me to be his best man in his wedding. So thank you, Colin.
Very nice. Congratulations. Always fun. Always fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Mitch, what do you got tonight?
I am making some Roy Rogers with some Russian standard vodka.
Roy Rogers, you always got to be doing something fancy with this, Mitch. And
it's fucking Roy Rogers, bro.
Dude,
that's like basic shit. That's just Coke and fucking cherry juice.
At least it's not wine.
At least it isn't. And of course, this evening, our guest. What are you drinking, good sir?
I popped out a bottle of wine. I'm doing a Moscato.
Damn.
It's an Italian wine.
Dang it, Hector! No.
Cheers to you guys.
Tim's out here
Cheers.
talking shit about drinking wine. And he just insults our guests.
How
We don't-
am I supposed?
I considered the wine
right?
tonight.
Yeah, how am I supposed to defend a candidate for governor who drinks wine? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
It's not a wine cooler. It's an actual wine.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, yeah, so it's very good. Well, as many of us know who have followed this show for a little while, Hector is has been a frequent guest on the Swamp Creatures. He is a good friend of the show, good friend of all of us here in the Florida Mises Caucus and in the LPF. And when he came out, I don't know how everyone else felt when he announced that he was deciding to run for governor of Florida against Ron DeSantis. But I was a little taken aback and surprised and was flooded with emotions. Josh, how did you feel?
This has been something in the works for a while. We've been discussing options and things we could and couldn't do, exploring different candidates, and it kind of came to a head where we finally had a candidate who shook out, who could, meet all the qualifications, get on the ballot, and, had the will and want to do it.
Yeah. Tim, likewise, when you heard about what was going down with Hector, what just quickly, what went through your mind and your heart?
At first, I was like, "What the fuck?" Okay. I was like, "Hector's gonna do it," and we'll get into this later, but it's never been a question for me of whether or not we should rent a candidate. It's how the candidate should run and who it should be. So, I'm happy that it's going to be Hector. I know he's right on all the issues, and that's great. We'll get more into the rest of it as we go.
Absolutely. Mitch, throwing it to you. What about you? What does your heart and your gut tell you?
Hi, I'm Mitch Connor, and I'm going to be playing the role of the Doubting Thomas here tonight.
Once again.
So, this is going to be interesting.
There are no friends in politics, Hector, as you can see that. And Riggedy Rob, sorry, Mitch, I thought you were done. You were just trolling.
No, just keep going. No,
right.
I'm just kind of on the wall here.
Gotcha. On the wall or against it?
Yeah, we'll see. If I'm
We'll
against it, that means I got red flagged.
Exactly.
Indeed. And now, Riggedy Rob, with your glorious return, how did you feel in the cockles of your balls when you heard that Hector was running?
I mean, I had to return for this one. And Red Flag Ron is a great name too, by the way. We need to.
You're welcome, LPF.
Yeah, that's great.
You can send me a check when you use that to run this summer.
Yeah, Hector, working with Hector as a state organizer here and stuff, really you get to know him and his mind for just history and numbers and just remembering the most autistic shit about the Libertarian Party of Florida and just Florida politics in general. So at a high level, Hector knows Florida politics, which is great for a Libertarian candidate, especially here in Florida. And we actually have someone running. I don't care. I've never been of the philosophy that we're taking away votes from just one side. So we're not taking it just from DeSantis. And yeah, we would have been fucked with the Democrat, Andrew Gillum. But we'd be a lot better off if Hector was governor. So that's how I feel about it.
All right. And finally, the man of the hour, Hector. What made you finally come to this decision to throw everything up the air, say fuck it, live by, fuck around and find out, and decide to run for governor of Florida?
Well, the short version of the story is that I woke up in chills one night and realized we're about to have national red flag laws, and the Congress is announcing they're using essentially the Florida red flag laws as the template to make it national. They're taking the shitty Florida law and making it shittier for everybody. You can't, didn't sleep for days actually. So the decision was, is anybody actually going to stand up at this point, or are we going to essentially lead people to believe that this is actually a libertarian idea because it came from Florida? And that was a disheartening thought. You can read the entire treatise I have put on it on my website, roosforflorida.com. That's ROOS for Florida.com.
Easy with the plugs. We're 10 minutes into the show, Hector.
Yeah, I know,
Jeez.
man. I mean, we did bring you on here to hear from the man himself. I mean, we're going to get drunk. We're going to have fun. But Hector, please. I mean, you laid out for a few of us earlier today, like a couple of the points that you hit of like what was going on, even behind the scenes, and why you finally came to the justification of, all right, someone needs to run so that it doesn't get fucked up, and why it decided that you had to be the one to do this.
Well, reality is we've been talking about this, like Josh said, that we've been talking about it for more than a year. A year ago, this conversation was a lot different. A year ago, we were still just getting out of the COVID lockdowns. We've been less than 6 months, really, from that point. I think the lockdowns ended a year ago. The emergency order actually ended exactly a year to practically to the date. And keep in mind, we were locked down the 15 days. 15 days to stop the spread turned into 90 in Florida, and then the emergency continued until a year ago. So a year ago, we had just got out of the emergency in Florida. People were feeling pretty good about DeSantis because by comparison, New York was going into like a third lockdown. California was going into a fourth lockdown. This was a disaster looking around the rest of the country, and Florida was starting to come out of it. So now it's a little different. Now we're starting to see what happens if we leave Ron DeSantis to his own devices, and what ends up happening is nothing happens on 2A. In fact, people are more scared than ever to actually speak up in protest to what's going on in Florida with regards to taxing, just simple things, tax increases, issues regarding criminal justice reform, issues regarding the Second Amendment and the personal right to defend yourself. I mean, you have to understand, at this point, in this point last year, our only concern was, it was COVID or bust, right? And in the interim, what have we done? We've seen that really Florida can stand on its own, that Florida's people are resilient, and that we really didn't need this all-important governor, all-powerful governor, to come in and save the day. And that's really why I'm wearing this shirt too, because I even think that Florida can stand on its own completely. But the reality is that other people have been whispering that they wanted to run too. The reality is that, as someone who sits on the state board of the Libertarian Party of Florida, someone who's basically a custodian of the party and the party's future and what it represents, that's something that I take that seriously. There are other members of the board that also take it seriously, and we've been in talk. Josh is the vice chair of the party. At the end of the day, we have to make a decision about what is best for the party, and the choice that has been pushed on us was either run nobody or run somebody in case of something that happens, which is someone who basically can't represent the party in the best way possible. Run, and this was all in the background of basically Roger Stone claiming that he was going to run in the Libertarian ticket for governor. But fast forward a year, things are different, and now it's not a question about we're running people because we want to protect our brand. We're running people because we really need to protest what's going on in Florida. This week, even DeSantis signed into a law that disqualified almost 20 libertarians in the ballot. And that's, you have to understand, this is the little influence we have in the party is already trying to be taken away from us by the administration, by the governor himself. So when we say
now, sorry to cut you off real quick there. Which law exactly was signed in? What did it exactly do?
So essentially, the law that was targeting soil and water boards or water conservation districts. These are low-level boards, but they're of a consequence to libertarians. One, because it's one of these lower boards that we always compete in and win and have a lot of elected officials in, and ultimately it surrounds one thing that's very important to the state, which is essentially its water resources, the management of its water resources. Mm-hmm. Under the state of Florida's constitution, the state owns and controls and manages the water. So by having access to those boards, we actually have a say into the entire future of Florida, for that matter. So not having the access there, it was certainly a problem. But the law itself, and I'll find the actual citation. But the law itself is actually the biggest problem with it is it essentially created a barrier of entry even into the boards that exist now. It basically stated that that you had to be a member of the agricultural profession for 10 years before you're even allowed to qualify to sit on the boards. The bill is called SB 1078. SB 1078. That's an enormous problem in and of itself, because there's only one other profession in all of Florida that has a similar, one type of elected position that has a similar type of employment requirement, and that is judges. So now you're holding this particular low-level board that libertarians are essentially always go and run for. Essentially, you're blocking them with the same requirements that you would hold to a judge. So that in myself is a problem, and these are kind of tactics that you see. Realistically, obviously somebody got the message that we're running a governor candidate, that we're not satisfied that our safety moving forward, our security is moving forward, and our liberties are even protected under Ron DeSantis now. And right now they're just throwing caution to the wind and pretending that they can stymie our vote by intimidation.
Already doing the dirty politics, and you just got started sipping on your wine. It's just how it goes. And it's kind of interesting because how you said that they just signed this bill into law, and a lot of what people argue is you should focus more on local elections instead of maybe the governor's race. And of course, here we are, you have the legislature and the governor taking away the ability to run for certain local elections. I don't know. Ricky, Rob, what are you thinking about this?
I mean, I think just like a presidential race, the opportunity to run on a bigger platform gives the opportunity for the LP to message to a wider range of people, right? And so that's a good thing. Local elections, obviously, a focus of the Mises Caucus and our particular group, and I think local elections are great. But if you have someone willing and able to run for things like the governor or the president, then it's a massive opportunity to see what we can do with what we've built. And I think we've built something good at the national level right now, at least across state lines. I hope what we've built in Florida can help support you in the run. And also, I'm cracking up because Dickie's asking, what's your plan to combat homelessness in his neighborhood? And that's just something you need to address, because Warrington is absolutely dog shit. I'm going to go ahead and say
is that where
right
Dickie
now.
lives?
If I were governor, I can answer that actually. If
Go
I
ahead.
were governor, when I am governor, I would actually ask the Attorney General to sue the surrounding states to actually basically pay for homeless to be dumped in our state. That actually happens every year. That's why they're there now in the summer. Actually, in the summer now is when they go back. But now they literally pay them a bus ticket. Here, go straight to the Panhandle, go to Panama Beach City, go to Miami, go to Sarasota's big on that. And then winter, especially in the wintertime or fall before it gets cold. So that's how they get. That's basically how these states get rid of some of their troubled people.
So
that's
all these northern states are shipping homeless people to us as snowbirds.
Absolutely, yeah. They actually.
Josh, is that how you got here?
Yep.
That is how Josh got here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I caught a one-way bus down to fucking Fort Lauderdale and didn't look back.
Don't lie. You and that dump truck got put on a shipping container.
Her name is Laura, okay?
Look.
He just saw bath salts. It's cool. He just saw bath salts for a thing down here, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta give me some of that shit."
I mean,
it was
literally
the
this
Flocka that got me.
Yeah, the Flocka. Nice. But literally, we're talking about one issue that is a very common way that politicians handle this, which is basically push the problem to somebody else. And literally they're putting them on a bus and shipping them somewhere else in terms of problems.
Wasn't that like a plot of a South Park episode? Like they decided to just ship off the homeless people to another city.
Yeah, they ship them off to California.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
so I want to get a little bit back on track. So you were, Duke was trying to set you up there. The biggest, it's not the biggest. I have a list of criticisms that we can go through, but this is on the list. And he was trying to allude to it there. People are saying you shouldn't run for governor. You should just run for a more local race. You should just run for state legislature. You should just run for county commissioner or the soil and water board. Why governor? Why Why governor?
Stirring the pot.
Come on, man.
All right,
Trying to start some shit here. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, the biggest issue regarding running. So let's back up for everybody who's listening hasn't heard this conversation before. The Mises Caucus does not run people for governor. Let's say that first. They do not. The strategy they have is to run for local, and rightfully so, to run for people in elections where they can win without much trouble. Really, where it's a shoo-in. As it comes down to it, why did I choose to run for governor in a time when it could have run for another seat where I could have spent the money to better uses or invested in other campaigns? The reality is that the stakes are too high. The people die for ballot access. In Florida, we have it as a constitutional right, and the party has perennially wasted it. If you don't use something, you are guaranteed to lose it, and that is actually what's happened in the last couple of years. We actually have not had a governor candidate in the state of Florida since 6 years.
Adrian Wiley, right?
Right.
Yep, 2014.
Exactly.
Correct.
So, is that 8 years?
Yep, 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. Sorry, 8 years.
Right. I got to do math now.
So that is 8 years. So I want to point out something about Adrian Wiley. Actually, I asked him if he would consider running last year too. He said no, and I understand why. Now, right? The reality, it's a lot of work, and that's the other thing. People do not want to put in the work for either for the party or for these big elections, because what does it mean? It means the responsibility is on you to actually represent the brand. I cannot claim to be perfect. I cannot claim that I have the absolute perfect background. And I cannot claim that any people haven't told me to shove off, essentially, because I'm not perfect. I've been a political operative. I've been a consultant in politics for 14 years. I've been in my fights and I've won a lot of them. And I'll tell you the truth, I have never seen the state of Florida in all that time feel as jaded about politics as much and as distracted about politics. As much as I've seen it these days. The reality is people think that he has no that things will be solved by a hero coming along and just a strongman, even, right? With
a hero coming along, you say.
Right.
Look at Dickie Walnuts is going to challenge you, man.
He's talking shit is what he's doing. Yeah.
Hector
he's not going to address.
I have no plans to address people who don't matter in this election. Let's put it that way.
Wham!
So the only person I want to talk about is Ron DeSantis.
Unrelated.
And why someone needed to challenge him. That's really why I'm here today. The reality is that let me put it to you this way. I was talking about Adrian Wiley. He did something that the Libertarian had done in a while. He ran for governor himself, and when he ran for governor, he got over 220,000 votes. Now, to put it to very clearly, that year, the difference in the 2014 general election was 64,000 votes between the top two vote getters. In 2018, when Ron DeSantis first won for one election, the difference was even smaller with 32,000. So, do you think Libertarians have an impact in this race or not? I'm convinced they do, and I'm convinced that Ron DeSantis is meeting with his team trying to figure out how they can actually disqualify me from the ballot. At this point, why? Because he's already shown that he's willing to disqualify a baker's dozen of other Libertarians from the ballot right now. So I will tell you, why do we need this? Because right now we don't have a strong enough voice in among all the elected officials that we're raising up from the bottom up. And right now, as I said before, the situation is dire. Right now, again, the application people have tried and spent a lot of time to ask the legislature and ask Ron DeSantis to repeal the red flag laws, to repeal the age to purchase a firearm from 21 to reverse it down to 18 again. And of course, they've ignored time and time again, right? So if we don't have an impact in these races, we don't have the pressure to be able to put on them, then they're going to just continue to ignore us. And frankly,
that's what they're doing right now. I'll tell you one other thing, and something that's near and dear to my heart. I've not simply being that I've not just been working in politics. I've had my time when I've also volunteered for civic and basically volunteer organizations, and frankly in politics. I've worked in both the wealthiest communities in Florida, and I worked in some of the poorest. I've actually I've seen how communities are destroyed by government policy, and they're restored by it as well. And I've seen the craziest things I've seen. I've seen people tell me that they've been offered money to shoot up neighborhoods in order to depress them. I've been campaigning and having to take cover because people were shooting AKs down the street in Liberty City, and that was before the video game came out. So I will tell you that I've seen these things before. I know a lot of changes in Florida were supposed to be coming over decades, and things still haven't. I will tell you right now that in my experience, Jim Crow, the legacy of Jim Crow is alive and well in Florida, and we still haven't seen. There's still a lot of those laws in the books, and frankly, I consider red flag laws part of that tradition, because what do they end up being used against? They end up being used against minorities. They end up being used against political opposition to silence and really pressure them into submission. And so when I say the stakes are high in this race, I do believe that is the case. I also believe at the end of the day, it is a danger to libertarianism to associate Ron DeSantis with the philosophy and with the greater movement. This is not someone who's pro freedom in any sense. Frankly, he just what has he done last? The biggest crisis in Florida right now is people really want help and relief on is property insurance, which we have a closed, regulated market in Florida that is basically so expensive that people cannot afford to live in their homes, to continue to afford to live or purchase new homes because of the cost of insurance. And that's just the start. I mean, healthcare is also an issue with that people lack access to. It's starting to improve because the legislature is making little teeny cracks here and there, but the cost of living is crazy. I'm also a licensed realtor. Home prices across Florida have risen like 300% in the last 8 months. So I'm telling you, it's strictly unaffordable to live in Florida, and the governor and the administration and even the legislature has refused to actually tackle this. In fact, I will tell you that we're still living, even though there's no emergency ongoing in Florida. The reality is that the legislature's just checked out. They've checked out since for the last 3 years since unfortunately for the Valentine's Day massacre, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, that shooting in Broward County. They just checked out. Basically, they've been allowing outside influences or just passing on the buck onto the governor to make these decisions. And at this point, I'm sorry, that was actually 5 years ago nowadays. Now, and even through COVID, right? They've kind of shirked their responsibility. All they did during COVID was actually pass the largest tax in Florida history, which while everybody was stuck in their homes or at least ordered to stay in their homes, and they were left to purchase a lot of their goods through online, the Florida legislature signed and the governor signed into law basically a new internet sales tax. So, they're going to tell us that they're trying to help people, but in reality, they're making deals and leaving it up to the governor after almost a year and a half of being in a state of emergency. He still hasn't gotten over being the emergency empowered governor. Where have we seen this? Where have we seen that story before? Right? Every fantasy story from the Avengers to Star Wars ends up being with some guy having all the power. Then it goes to his head. And frankly, that is exactly the kind of governor we have today. We have somebody who's out of touch and not helping the people who actually he's asking for re-election. And it's unbelievable, in fact, that how what he's doing nowadays. That he's right now, even though he's running for re-election, he's actually acting like he's running for president. And frankly, I don't even see him. I definitely see him running for president in 2024. That means if he wins re-election now, he will abandon Florida. Not fix any of these problems that people are crying out for help, and go run for president on the fact that he did better on COVID than other governors. But what is that? So he's going to be running on the same position on something that had to deal with something for 2 or 4 years before. That's something that Floridians cannot afford to wait and abide by until the next governor comes around and fixes it out. And I'll tell you what, if Governor DeSantis basically bans Florida like that again in 2024, I will be here in 2024 to remind people that, listen, we said he was going to leave office, and he said he was going to leave all these problems on us, and we need real solutions, and the only ones we're talking about it are libertarians.
Now, because of the fact that you say he's going to be leaving and everything like that, I'm going to bring up I think Tim flashed up there, but here's a point that was brought up here. With 45 state houses and Senate seats going uncontested, saying that those are the places to win. So why, with the legislator being checked out, as you said, why would you run just as a kind of a symbolic, if not just a bit of a symbolic run against DeSantis at this point, and not try to put all faith, all the energy, all the money, all the effort from the LPF into trying to win one of these Senate seats in the legislature, trying to win a mayoral election in one of these bigger cities? But why go for the governorship to do all this?
Well, the answer to that's pretty straightforward. This is the number one thing. Well, let me answer something first, because I've heard criticisms of why about 47 seats that went uncontested. Do you know how many Democrats got elected without actually having an opponent too? It's not just Republicans, and that's the point.
No. No one was saying Republicans. It was just saying seats in general.
That's the point. There's not enough interest even amongst the two parties to compete against one another in those seats. So why are they asking libertarians, hey, this is not happening, you guys should be running? That doesn't make sense. And the fact is that we have to build up our resources and look for winnable seats. These are not seats. People who are listening from other parts of the country, places, smaller states that have smaller populations, let's say like Nevada, they'll have an election with maybe 5,000 votes for a state legislative seat. In Florida, you're talking about 35 to 40,000. That's a huge difference. So let's make an apples to apples comparison here. So that's really the big deal of really the conversation about resources. When it comes to then now going back to the main point, why the governor's election? Well, as you know, the governor, that is to say DeSantis, he is a bit of a publicity magnet, right? I could say another word for that, but this is I'm in polite company. If you
this is not polite company.
Polite company. I'll say it. Are you trying to say that he's a media whore?
What'd you call me?
Yeah.
He's going to plead the fifth there.
The reality comes down to it is that if you criticize rightfully the right person who is popular, that popularity, that publicity actually does you tap into it realistically. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be concerned that even this publicity machine that he has behind him, from that's supporting him all over the world, really. Because if some articles he is let's just say that if he ends up losing this reelection, that is a feather in our cap too, to say that that we were able to communicate a message that Ron DeSantis does not deserve reelection. Ron DeSantis does not deserve reelection because he hasn't earned it. Again, he doesn't have a record to stand on, because the only thing he's relying on, again, is that he was a modestly better governor than all the other governors on lockdowns in terms of the freedom issue there. But what has he actually been able to achieve? Okay, he raised taxes. Okay, he signed into law the biggest budget busting budgets in the history of the state of Florida. We're at record-breaking numbers. In fact, they have so much money that they got from the Biden administration that they do not know what to do with, and they've stuck us also with the biggest reserves in the Florida history as well. Yes, for those who don't understand what polite company means, it's just a nice term to say that other more aggressive language does apply. So, and that's the point. So, no one can answer. I heard this one actually from Josh, to give him credit. Tell me 3 things that Ron DeSantis has actually accomplished that essentially would that you feel gives him makes him essentially supports his case for re-election. And I can't name one. So if I can't name one, and I live in this world, what's everybody else thinking? And I'd like actually for you guys to tell me, because that's part of this conversation.
Well, I actually could give you some things there. For one, he dropped the medical marijuana lawsuit that Rick Scott's administration, if that's the right word, was pushing on the way out. He also did say in regards to constitutional carry, he would sign that if it ended up on his desk, but that's something that would have to go through the House and everything. He's not going to try and force anything. But the lockdowns, that's not something to be brushed off. Like, we're talking about a major thing where in the rest of the country, people were locked in their houses and weren't allowed to go outside. Like, to just say, oh, well, just the lockdowns, like, that's a pretty fucking big thing. Another thing too is he did do, if you remember before the lockdowns, DeSantis did that deregathon, basically where he was just deregulating a bunch of shit. Which, as a libertarian, I like the sound of that. But those would be the key things that I would look at.
So Ron DeSantis does represent a something of a disappointment if people were waiting for him to be like another coming of Reagan, or maybe he's exactly that, because I don't think Reagan had a great history either in terms of policy making. And you know what? A lot of people learned the wrong lessons from
El
Reagan.
Salvador is awesome right now. What are you talking about?
Well, exactly.
They have Bitcoin.
You know, inflation hit 12% in 1 month, guys. And those are from the Fed numbers. So when you have inflation at 12 double digits, considerably above 20%, realistically, you have that affects the price of food, energy. I'll tell you, I was getting off the phone with the chair of the Libertarian Party of Florida, Stephen Akela. He just told me that their local energy company increased from 1 month everybody's power bill by 25%. Like how is that possible? You know, how is that sustainable? And that, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you, it's not. So yes, we may have been saved some discomfort from for a few months that compared to other people, but the reality is that we're heading to a disaster. And I will tell you right now that our government, our state government, or the legislature, and frankly the head of government, which is Ron DeSantis, that failed to prepare Floridians for what is coming.
Hey, so you were just talking about the FPL. So Dickie Walnuts asked I never know when Dickie's kidding or not, but what are you going to do with the power monopoly that is the FPL?
I mean, this is dead serious. He's being dead serious.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is the FP&L is an issue of there's two ways to look at this. FP&L has a lot of influence in Tallahassee. They basically have the best.
He says that too. He says they take all the cash. You just not going to take that money?
they have
see how he's joked?
But here's the point about FP&L. Yeah. So whether it's FP&L or Duke Energy, depending where you are in the state, or even your local municipal co-op, the reality is that we have an economy in Florida that's still based in the 1880s. That's the structure that we keep replicating and relying on for our energy needs. And Florida does not have a comprehensive energy strategy. We are the number one producer of tidal. We are one of the best producers of solar. We're the Sunshine State.
Woo!
And we don't produce any solar energy.
Who did that?
So I will tell you,
What do you mean? I see them building like fields and fields of solar panels out here in Central Florida. Hector, what do you mean they don't produce any solar energy?
I've driven by them, and a couple of them are in Polk County. They're huge. Where Tim lives.
Out of my town.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good farming.
Because you got good barbecue.
Get out of here.
They got damn
the best in Florida.
They got damn solar panels in Polk County. Hell no.
Right.
No, the reality is that I've been hearing for years that we need a distributed strategy for power generation. That means that you basically spread out all types of energy generators, from wind, solar, and even tidal into the power grid. So if something happens, you have enough capacity to do this. In fact, that's really the future. And I've been hearing seeing a lot of questions, guys. If you want me to answer one of the questions, that is to the host.
Yeah. So here, let's burn through them because there's a lot coming through first. So we'll start with a semi-lighthearted one. Here we go. Do you promise to support our greatest ally as much as DeSantis if you're elected governor?
So
do you know who he's referring to? It's Reed Coverdale. Take a guess.
I promise that I will treat the Jewish day schools with the treat all schools with the type of security that Jewish day schools have right now. All right,
Okay.
Which is the government right now is paying for armed security at those particular schools and nowhere else.
So wait, hold on. Pull this off. We'll get right back to that. So does that mean you're going to pay for armed security through the government to all schools?
I think if we're going to we have to have a serious conversation about security in schools, because obviously we're either going to have it or we're going to allow parents to pull their kids because the schools are not safe enough for them. There are too many. This is actually, how many times you actually hear about this as a problem, because they're supposed to have security, right? Already, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act actually already incorporates that, requires 2 guards at every school. So we have. No, I'm serious. They don't. And they don't meet that
at a
requirement.
private school, we have no guards at my school.
Right. 'Cause obviously, you're not blessed like some certain others.
No.
But the
Hector,
reality is that
you're supposed to be advocating for the abolishment of the Department of Education and let private schools fund their own security. That's what you're supposed to say.
No, the reality. No, I know that. Of course, the outcome is parents should have the choice whether we have a public school option, which eventually we would like to phase out, but you can't even phase it out. If anybody's read Hoppy, the reality is that you can't phase them out without alternatives, right? Okay. Without actual competition. And right now we do not have competition in schooling. I would love to actually one of my plans is to put on my website how to unschool families and actually how to make it easier for homeschooling to be a reality. We have the technology, we have support systems and networks out there. The problem is not enough information out there. And part of any large campaign, libertarian campaign, is education at the end of the day. Anyway,
Tim,
you got another question for me?
Tim, you know that as well as I do. Yesterday, we were in a meeting trying to just discuss public schooling and how to get people out of public schooling. And it literally you're starting to build a foundation. So that's what it is. We need competition in that market, obviously.
Right.
All right, here's a joke one to get us a little off track. Or do you want to get something serious? Because I don't know. We supported a ban on. Yeah, he's a truck driver. Well, everybody knows automatic truck.
But he's gonna stop being a truck driver soon, from what I understand.
Oh, he's gonna revoke your license.
No, he's going to go to New Hampshire and he's going to hang out with Jeremy Kauffman and have a good time. But yes,
I agree, Jeff.
Basically, we have to put security, armed security. Again, I put this out. The reality is that to think that government, you can rely on government to protect you, or to make you happy, is never going to happen. The reality is that there should be options for security at schools. There should be options for security at businesses.
I agree.
Some people would suggest allowing teachers to arm themselves, to open carry. Again, it should be a decision between parents and those schools. I believe actually, fundamentally, that if parents and even teachers do not feel safe or they don't have enough resources, the control over their own resources, they should use the parent trigger law, parent teacher trigger law, and push for an election for a guardianship school. So, which means basically they can do a private takeover of the school itself and become an independent district. But that's the thing, right? People have to know about these things. Nobody, frankly, knows about it, and I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. Mm-hmm. We should be able to arm teachers. People have had even the most conservative solutions were, hey, get veterans that will volunteer to stand guard in front of the schools, right?
Yeah, guardian program. Yeah,
right.
Hey,
So what?
That sounds good to me. I mean, everyone, take a drink, L'Ohio.
I take many drinks.
L'Ohio.
And now, Mitch, you seem like you're ready to jump in there just a minute ago. What were you getting ready to say?
Well, I was just hearing all that, and it's like normally when the guns in schools kind of conversation comes up, I always think of Larry Sharp's response to that, which I think is probably the most common sense solution, which is if someone like a teacher or something like that has gone through the proper channels to get their concealed carry, then they should be allowed to do it. They've gone through, aside from constitutional carry, which should be a thing, they've gone through that additional government processing to where you'd think that it would apply in that sort of situation as well.
Right.
As in being allowed to conceal carry on.
Let me tell you something. The entire regulatory scheme of whether it's that's presented as a licensing or regulations in the state of Florida, it's pretty much all a scam. They regulate how things get constructed, how to defend yourself, what to defend yourself with, at what points, what situations are you allowed to protect yourself, right? And then you have to justify it later. That's all it comes down to. So the reality is we have no free market in these spaces. So if when it comes down to it, it's just far easier to say who is liable, who do we want to make liable for these. It's never going to be the government, ever. So you have to handle the issue of liability first, and then you can say, well, under the how we handle liability is basically how we make the decision of who's going to hold the gun, how the training is going to be. Is that training enough? And that's the thing about Florida. We have the worst insurance market in the state of in the entire country, and that's and probably one of the most expensive ones. So for a state that doesn't really have much public transportation, we make it incredibly hard for people to actually own a car, and if you don't have enough money to do so. This has become a state that's great for people with money to live in and enjoy and have a great time, but very difficult if you are in the lower socioeconomic ladder, especially if you're a senior or you're someone basically on a fixed income.
Yeah, you're talking about the poors, and Josh figured you were talking about him.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Got him.
Yeah, you can be right back. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Hector has a little bit of technical difficulties. He's going to have to jump back on here in a minute. Well, this whole conversation about teachers having guns reminds me of like my first day, and this is kind of a red pilling moment. The first day that I was in the school that I just started working in, we were doing like safety training and safety conversation and everything like that. And the first thing that when the principal brought up the shooting in Uvalde, which happened recently, all the teachers, which are all like women in like their late 20s, started asking, if we get our concealed carry, can we have guns in the school? That's like the first thing that they were thinking about, because they were seeing that the cops weren't protecting anyone. The first thing were like, well, if we could get lock boxes and we could get concealed carry, I'll get my license so I can carry in here, because no one else is going to protect these kids, because we ain't got, like I said, no security, no cops are there.
That's what I was saying, is that things like that seem much more like the common sense solution as compared to, yeah, let's get some vet to just stand guard with like a gun all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just, the other one seems like more the common sense thing.
I will say, I'll be the detractor on this. I think, like, if a teacher wants to do it, that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
I've had some crazy teachers in my exactly. But I've had some crazy teachers in my time who, like, if they did want to carry it as a student, I'd be like, I don't think you should carry it. I think maybe police officers there. I think we have to change the laws around that. Like, there's a Supreme Court case that literally ruled that cops do not have a duty to protect the citizenry.
All right,
that's number one right there.
Let me push you a little bit.
Yep.
So are you saying not to force teachers to carry? Because I would agree with that. We don't want to force anybody to do anything. Yeah. But are you saying that teachers shouldn't have the option to carry because you think they're crazy?
No, I'm saying.
Okay, so
no.
Yeah. So, but if a crazy teacher did want to carry a gun, you as a student should be able to carry a gun as well.
No.
What do you mean no?
No, I mean no.
I'm not talking about 12-year-olds. You're fucking. You went to law school.
Yeah, college students and stuff. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, maybe 12-year-olds. I don't know. We can.
My kid's got a crazy teacher. I don't want him going to school not packing.
If you're new to the podcast, we are anarchists here. We are ANCAPs.
Speak for yourself, but yes.
I'll speak for myself. I mean,
there you go. Speak for your
fucking stuff. I mean, I feel like I'm.
What do you mean we? You fuck.
Look, I feel like I am the detracting voice a lot of times.
Who are those people?
Your beard is red, and so is your heart.
Who are these people, and are they milquetoast?
Don't you fucking get me started.
Hey, look.
Come back one episode and you bring that shit up.
So I kind of want to shift the
You can-
conversation a little bit because as Robert has alluded to, we're all pretty much on the same page, right? We're all libertarians. A lot of the people that are watching this show right now are libertarians. The question that they have is not so much about where you stand on the issues, but why we should run a candidate for the governorship, for the gubernatorial race. That is the main question. So I have a bunch of criticisms here, but I'm going to let everyone go first.
Can I add? I just want to add to that because
Sure.
I want to know.
You can go ahead and start off, Rob.
Yeah,
with
Hector.
your opinion.
Okay, so no, it's not my opinion because the question was directed towards Hector. I just want to add to Tim's rant there and just say, like, are you going to try and curtail this to be practical to Republicans and Democrats, or are you going to try to kind of bring these values from the Mises Caucus and the Libertarian Party, or kind of like a little bit of both?
I'm not sure any of us have claimed that DeSantis is Liberty God, Joe. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there real quick.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of comments that keep coming through that are worth sharing.
If this was a year ago, that would actually be the case.
No, and I agree. A year ago is much different than it is at this very moment.
So
we'll get
at this point, we've had another legislative session. We've seen the appetite of Ron DeSantis for truly authoritarian policies and approaches to his leadership. We are living in a slippery slope of the post-COVID era, where government learned once and for very, very clearly how much tyranny the public will put up with. Even in Florida, where we were locked down for 90 days, and we really were, and I was still arguing in 2020, in October of 2020, let us play loud music on the streets, let businesses play music in their venues, and we were still getting City of Miami police shutting down venues and threatening arrest for those who would continue to do so, and that was in the context of the campaign for the Jorgensen campaign. So. For people to say that we actually didn't have a form of lockdown even past then is ludicrous. The reality is, I'm here tonight to actually burst the bubble of the illusion that people have about Ron DeSantis. I'll tell you what, I've met Ron DeSantis a few times myself. I will tell you that he comes from a very basically a very this or that background, and he is not for our issues. I will tell you that when he was first still in Congress, he was for things that were transformative, but they were very, but he was a typical conservative. Things he would support was things like the fair tax, which is just another, which was a step toward abolishing the IRS and creating a flat a tax for everybody in government. There was no opt-outs. At the end of the day, though, Ron DeSantis got elected. Let's put it this way. Let's say a little history first. Ron DeSantis got elected because he was endorsed by the then president Donald Trump. Let's say that his political career relied on Donald Trump to succeed in Florida, and at the end of the day, he came to Florida without any influence over the political scene in Florida. And he's had to work very, very hard to make deals and establish himself as a true political leader in Florida. As a result of that, he's had to make deals that are obviously, to lack of a better word, sold us out in order for him to get the position that he's enjoying now. And if he wins the election, there's nothing stopping him from continuing that road. There's no question here that he is governing like an authoritarian, and why he's doing so. He doesn't even have the liberty to support liberty because it will cost him his political career. So that's in and of itself. I'm sorry, guys, but that is the reality of the bitter pill of Ron DeSantis. And if he has political ambitions for higher office, like for president, we can only expect him to essentially follow the guise of what he's already done in Florida, and follow essentially what that path that Donald Trump already blazed for him to run in. That is interesting to say that they're also still competing against each other for that. But the point is that they're actually trying to outcompete each other for who can be who can be the bigger badass in a culture war, but still not get anything done for people who really need the relief.
No, you go ahead. You're going to continue? Go ahead, Rob.
I'm going to try and be quick because I asked the question in the chat. That was a great answer to the chat, Hector. Just how are you going to incorporate the libertarian philosophy? The question I asked her, like, how are you going to incorporate that in between trying to be practical and trying to reach out to people who are not libertarians, who are Democrats and Republicans?
So it's a very important question because it's very similar to the question of how would you even win this kind of election? And the reality is that you have to come here and do what Ron DeSantis has refused to do, and that is show people how we can help them. We can help them with insurance relief, with access to health care that otherwise is regulated where they don't have access to it, where the housing is reliant on basically a overreaching statewide building code that serves nobody but very particular special interests in the state. And if you basically deregulated and allowed people to choose for themselves of what the bank and insurance companies will loan to and obviously a bond to, then that should be enough. But no, in Florida we have all these other issues. And I'm seeing some finger signs here.
It's not you. It's late.
No, it was to the chat.
It's to the Alaskan Grizzly himself. He's talking shit. The chat's not more important than me just because I've been gone.
Right.
And so this seems
help people.
So this seems to be coming up a lot from Joe, basically like questioning on whether or not, because debate, like the first time you were supposed to be on the show was about 40 episodes ago. It was episode 8. We were going to do this debate about whether or not the LP should run a candidate against
Why it was 40.
Ron DeSantis.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. It's 40 fucking episodes ago. And like you said mentioned earlier, it was a completely different landscape than it is now. And back then, running a candidate against DeSantis politically may not have made sense. I think I have come around to the idea that, yes, now is very different. Running a candidate against him politically is not a bad idea as I think maybe it would have been beforehand. But even still, I know that a lot of the questions go to, well, you're still taking resources and everything like that. But
you're pissing Joe off. You're pissing Joe off because he's like
pissing people off. You know,
he's like I'll try to make his argument a little bit better. It should have never been a question. We should have always ran a candidate against. See, that was his exact next comment. It was never a question. We should have ran a candidate against DeSantis from the beginning. The Libertarian Party exists to run candidates. We need to go against DeSantis. He is not a libertarian, and we cannot allow people to define what a libertarian is, as he said earlier. So,
I don't think anyone was trying to say he was a libertarian. I'm not trying to say
no, but people are giving him a pass because of this one issue that he was less bad than others on.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I've seen other arguments, and they're saying that that's why going after the legislature, and also even when DeSantis was being authoritarian, trying to say like, oh, you have to no mask mandates, even when he was doing shit that maybe we may have been for, like you said, banning mandates for vaccines, banning mandates for masks and businesses and everything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of these localities said, fuck off, we're going to still do what we want to do. And that showed the power of taking control of local governments and nullification. Sorry, Josh, you had your hand raised. What do you want to say there, big guy?
Yeah, because I'm not going to just jump over people like an asshole like other members.
What? Fuck you, Josh.
Like me,
you can do whatever you want.
Fuck you, Tim.
All you got to do is jump in.
Eat my dick and suck it. Anyway, now that I shut him up for 5 minutes.
Come on, man.
Yeah, but see, the point is, Joe, there's only so many resources we have, and we have to focus our resources. It is politics, baby.
All right, let me ask
Go
a
ahead,
question
Josh.
real quick.
Eat my dick sideways with a
Everybody
shovel.
here is talking about exactly. Anyway, though, digressing from that, from eating my dick.
Can you put them like head to head real quick? Put them head to head real quick. Just let it happen. They need to knuckle it out.
We'll dock at the next convention, Rob. Calm down.
There we go.
You want to roll the foreskin, or you want me to?
All right, go ahead.
Oh, we can do it for each other.
Was that
no, we can do it. I said we can do it for each other.
Rob.
for each
No,
other.
I didn't know you had foreskin, so I was just surprised. I pictured you as like a cut guy.
No, he's non-white.
That's
He's
weird.
definitely
You're picturing my
uncircumcised.
dick, Roxy. We're making this way weirder than it's trying to be right now.
I mean,
How did we get here, Rob? How did we get to talking about my dick right quick?
It was me, you, and Michael Heiss, and we were pretty wasted at
We're going off in right field, Hector.
at the Solutionary Summit.
We were supposed to talk.
Reservation.
Hey! We signed an NDA with that.
Oh.
We can't talk about Pure Heiss's, this transgressions out here, guys.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be like the white nationalist, anti-gay, homophobes. Like, come on, man, we can't break this. We can't break the stereotype.
It's Pride Month, bro. You just gotta own up to it.
Look. Okay, well, I'm proud that I sucked my
I'm with Joey on this. I'm with Joey on this. Y'all get fucking back on track. What were you
Josh
trying to
was
say?
trying to ask a serious question, and Rob just started asking about dick.
Totally off the fucking rails for like 5 minutes. Fuck you, Rob. I keep hearing this like, oh my god, like there's 45 uncontested state legislature positions, and my question keeps being to all these people is, where the fuck were y'all? We've been reaching out to libertarians all over the state of Florida for the last 2 months. Hey, we're looking for people to run. Like, not everybody's in the position or living in an area to run for these slots. And like Hector said, if the opposite party isn't running for these positions, why are we wasting our resources trying to run? Obviously, these are races where they're very hard to win races. We're going to waste our money, our talent, and races too. So what the fuck are you really trying to get at right now? Like, that's a stupid fucking argument. Stop. Like, I know all of y'all are smarter fucking people than that. Get off that fucking argument. It's a bad fucking argument. We have the opportunity here. And number two, the LP doesn't run anybody, just like the Mises Caucus doesn't run anybody. Not in Florida, at least. The individuals run for office. The LP either backs them or they don't. Hector, for instance, he got on the ballot because he filed the paperwork, paid the fucking filing fee, and qualified. That was it. We talked to other candidates. Hector wasn't the first person we talked to. We had other candidates in mind. We had other concepts we wanted to run. But honestly speaking, Hector was the best option for Florida, and that's why I'm personally picking him. Like, talking about these 45, out of here. You're stupid. Stop. Like, you have 45 positions that you didn't run for. Where were you at? You're not there. You're not running. You're not in one of these 45 fucking positions. So suck my big fat fucking cock. Eat a dick. You're fucking stupid. This is a dumb fucking argument. Half of these people who are even having these arguments too, they don't live in Florida. Their fucking art and opinion is irrelevant in the big scope of things. You don't live here, bro. Who are you talking to? We live here. We deal with this for the last, what? Tim, you've been here your whole life. Rob, you've been here your whole life. Duke, you've been here your whole life. Mitch, you've been here your whole life. Hector, you've been here almost your whole life. I've been here almost 8 years now. Like, what the fuck are you talking about from Georgia or Florida or fucking Alabama? I don't give a fuck about any of this. This is Florida, bro. You live in New York. You have a fucking dirtbag commie for a governor. You live in New Jersey. You have a dirtbag commie for a governor. You live in Pennsylvania. You have a dirtbag commie for a governor. You all have Democrats for governors. And you want what we're doing? Come on, bro. Worry about lockdowns. Worry about your high-ass tax rates. Worry about your goddamn fucking mask mandates. Look, I know some of y'all talking here from the city of Philadelphia. I know they just threw up new mask mandate a week later. I'm still connected in my city. Don't blame me. This ain't no fucking game. But when you're talking about Florida, you're talking from out of state. You don't understand what's going on here. Like, I can understand where an argument or Mitch has an argument, but you guys are talking from California, from Montana, from fucking Wisconsin. Who gives a fuck? There's nothing going on in your state. What are you doing in your own state as well? Are you running for office in your state? No? Then shut the fuck up about 45 open offices. Are you moving to Florida to run for those 45 offices?
No.
I didn't think so. Shut the fuck up.
Hey, fuck Wisconsin.
I'm with Joe here. My retort to anyone from another state from now on: you have a dirtbag commie for a governor. Fuck you, dude.
You have a dirtbag.
Yeah.
You live in California. You have a dirtbag commie for a governor. You live in Texas, bro. Greg Abbott ain't that great. You have a dirtbag commie for a governor.
He can't even
Look at
stand for the
Austin.
Pledge of
If y'all lived
Allegiance.
there.
Yeah,
Bro, I don't give a.
Nice
that
little Michael
man can't
Malice
even
joke.
stand. He can't stand for a lot of things.
this
Like,
is
that
my
man couldn't even stand up to save his life, probably.
this is my Josh is on a rant dance, and I'm gonna do it every time.
That man don't have a
Bitch,
stand.
you haven't been here in months.
Yeah, but I miss this shit. So like,
Like, this is what about. Like, why are we running this man over here, governor? Because nobody else was willing to step up. And you got somebody who's willing to take time, take their own resources, take their own finances. This is time out of this man's life that he's not going to get back. He's not getting paid. Like, the party isn't paying him to do this. There's no secret Libertarian Party of Florida slush fund that we're committing to Hector Roos's campaign to get him elected.
He's got the robot.
No, this man's putting in his own money,
It's better to
as
stay
well
here.
as the money of honest donors who want to help him get elected. So if you're talking about wasted redonation. The only wasted resources is the people we stole money from, which is zero fucking people. We didn't take no public
Hang on.
resources.
So Dickie brings up a good point here. Is Hector going to be the first candidate you've ever voted for? Being as how you don't vote and you're a terrible person.
I mean, yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, you've
If
never
I
voted.
will
That's
go
why
on
you're
the record
disqualified
to
for being
say-
chair of the Libertarian Party, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pop
so
that
I'm
cherry.
not running for chair. I've never voted for anybody. I can't run for chair until I vote, man. So we'll see in November.
And you're going to
if I
vote for
decide
Hector.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'm going to
Hector.
vote for Hector. I'm going to vote for Joe Hanoush. I'm going to vote
Yeah.
for Dennis Misigoy. I'm going to vote
Yeah.
for Frank Kraft. I'm going to vote for Mercedes Marassi if I
I don't
can.
think you
And
can
I'm gonna
vote
for
for-
any other libertarian candidate
Rob?
that's on my ballot
Rob?
sheet when I walk into that poll booth.
Wait,
in
that's how you
November.
pronounce his name? It's Misigoy?
Misigoy, yeah.
Okay,
Dennis
I've
Misigoy.
been trying to
I
figure
say
that shit out
Misigoy.
for like a year now.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
what
it's-
it is.
So
Don't
it's
trust
the Mormon
Josh on
accent, I don't know.
pronunciations. Don't
No, I
trust.
do
Yeah, I'm
trust,
horrible,
I trust
bro.
Josh on pronunciation of last names more than anyone because good luck pronouncing that fucking last name often, you know?
Yeah, I have no sympathy for anybody's on like mispronunciation of last names. Like, fuck you, fuck your feelings. Like, I'm gonna mispronounce your name and you're gonna deal with it. 'Cause this is my whole life. Welcome to my life.
Although Ken Molman just could not figure out Halavka. and
Oh,
read
bro.
it.
No, it's hella vodka.
Did you see
Hella
Ken
vodka.
moment when he had to address me? He was a deer in the. He was like, "Oh God, it's you."
Hell of
Not
vodka.
again.
Hell of vodka.
Hell of vodka.
That's gonna be you now.
All
right.
Karen Ann's gonna never let that go away. I promise.
Go ahead,
you.
Mitch. Yeah.
So, like, we keep on talking about DeSantis, but like, there's also some other names in this race too, and I just want to know
All right.
what as far as Nikki Fried and Charlie Crist goes, like, what is your plan to combat those two, depending on who it would be?
Well, I only know that one of them is going to be my opponent in November. So the reality is for Democrats have only been able to win one statewide election in 10 years, and that was Nikki Fried. The point is that why did she win that election? She responded to something that people really felt the time had come, and the other person was totally tone deaf in that race too. And this race is very similar to that in the governor's race. So when she ran, the Florida voters had just approved a statewide referendum to allow medical marijuana. She ran on that platform. Frankly, on that one issue, she sounded more like a libertarian than anybody else in the history of Florida, from my opinion. The banks shut down her bank accounts, because she was getting mostly money from medical marijuana businesses that were operating in the state. And the reality is that she focused the issue on one thing that really wanted to help people, and that's how she won. This time around, guess what? Her election, and there's a reason why I'm saying this, not because I'm like fanboying on this, but the reality is that Charlie Crist learned the lesson from that election and actually started sounding more like her in their primary. So either way, we're going to have a Democrat who, at least on vocalizing, is going to vocalize opinions that are these days for medical marijuana and for recreational. That's going to be attempting to get pushed. But the reality again is that these people have a history of not being able to help people generally. Democrats have been out of power for a very long time, and my goal really is to talk to if I'm going to win this election, and I feel like I have a good chance to actually, is to demonstrate they have not had a good actual plan to present to how to help people in the needs they have right now. So the things I've described in terms of housing, things I've described in terms of insurance, it's such a crisis in the insurance market right now that it's frankly an emergency. I'm surprised that we don't see the current governor, even just declare a state of emergency and suspend some requirements, because they're egregious. We suspended a lot of requirements in the COVID. Well, he suspended a lot of requirements in the COVID era to allow a lot of traveling healthcare professionals. Well, whoop-de-doo. Why can't you do the same thing under a state of emergency? And if somebody has a problem with it, you take it up with the legislature. They can call up a special session themselves and create a new law to actually fix it. But meanwhile, we're waiting months between the end of one session, which ended in March, to whenever we're going to have this special session to consider insurance. Where's the state of emergency? Where is the suspension of these heavy requirements on people? Those are things that help people now. And frankly, if no one else is in this race is saying it, but those are things that can be happening now. And really, frankly, both parties are hypocritical in talking about helping people, but not pointing out to the obvious. Does that answer the question?
Rob?
Yeah.
Who the fuck?
Jesus Christ, Leighton.
I mean, it takes a second basically decides my vote. Jesus Christ. Well, all right. I gotta put that to the back of the brain.
I didn't have a zero number, so I'm gonna go with one dick.
Yeah. That's fine. That's okay.
That was my one. It was my one. I was young. I needed the money. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could have just said you're that flexible and nimble, but okay.
Oh yeah.
Give him the out.
I could do that.
He's an honest man.
Wait. Hang on. I just want to be serious for a second. You meant Nikki Fried was good on decrim, right? But libertarians are better. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm saying in that race 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And she's not exactly really good on 2A. She's actually garbage on 2A.
She was running against a Republican that had never, for Commissioner of Agriculture, who pretended to be a farmer, who had never been on a farm in his life, decided to go buy a little 5-acre plot, started wearing a cowboy hat and boots, and just I don't know,
he did the
tobacco, and he pretended that
she ran against a good old boy, Florida fucking.
He did the old Elizabeth Warren, the Pocahontas.
Except while she was an Indian, he was a cowboy.
Listen, at the end
he's
of the day,
far more egregious.
Authenticity and the desire to help people really is what matters in Florida. People are looking for that. The reality for my campaign to be successful, I just need the resources to get the word out that we're ready to deal them in when everybody has dealt them out. Very simple. So you can go to Roos for Florida, ROOS for Florida.com, and you can make a donation there. Thanks, guys.
No, here's a good question right here from Susie Q. Back to my earlier question. Do you think there is an upside to running on our principles and not blaring the word libertarian every 2 seconds? That guy in Reno I mentioned did it in much smaller state and won. Or do you think that would be, I don't know, got cut off with whatever that's what she was going to say?
Or do you think that would be possible, useful in the smaller county elections? You want to put the question back up? It was a kind of a long one. But do you think there's an upside? Basically, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, essentially, it's like running in these nonpartisan elections and not announcing your libertarian credentials or your libertarian party affiliation, I guess. Right. And that being a winning or a good strategy for local elections.
So to tell you the truth, repeating libertarian is just a waste of time. People want to know how they want to be helped. They don't care what party you are. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep getting this back and forth flip-flop between Democrats and Republicans in Florida. The reality comes down to is that we don't need to impress anybody by name dropping. We just need to be focused in in the name that we want to drop is theirs.
Yeah.
And every election is different. Don't get me wrong on the question. Every election is different. So in Nevada, something like that might work in Nevada, might work a little different in Florida or other parts of other states. I mean, every election is unique. And frankly, when the more people you have to communicate to, the more focused your message has to be, because you just have less time to get to make an impression. Yes, and like Joe Hanush said, it's illegal to push your party affiliation in nonpartisan races in Florida. It doesn't mean you can't mention your past partisan experience. But again, who wants to hear that if there aren't enough registered libertarians to make a big difference anyway?
Yeah. Well, my lawyer would advise me that there's a difference between being a big and a small L libertarian. So you can talk about being libertarian or you have libertarian beliefs, but whatever. Yeah. Okay. So I want to get back to this. Some of the critics, not necessarily against you on the issues, but against you running. One of the big, I think all of this really comes down to the biggest criticism is that you running against DeSantis means that we could end up with a Democrat. What do you have to say to people that have that criticism that, if you run, we'll lose DeSantis because you have no chance of winning anyway. So if you run and we end up with Nikki Fried or Charlie Crist, that puts us worse off than we would if we ended up with DeSantis again.
Right. Frankly, I think what if questions are intellectually weak. So let's put it. It's time to educate some people on how government works, particularly constitutional republics. In all states, not just in Florida, we have a division of authority, of constitutional authority and power. In Florida, we have essentially a strong legislature system. Then we have the governor, and then we have the other executive positions, and then lower governments. The legislature can always override anything the governor does. In fact, like I said before, the problem we have right now is that the legislature has essentially abandoned its authority to govern and create policy for the people. What they've done is basically create a system where they are expediting all the business that whatever special interest has on in front of them, and basically ignoring every other issue of importance. And frankly, the governor has filled in the vacuum. The current governor has filled in that vacuum with what it is. So imagine if the worst case scenario is and this has happened, especially with the example with Nikki Fried, for instance, when she won as an executive in an executive position, which is that the legislature just started legislating around her and reducing the roles and responsibilities for her office to a minimum. And they do it again for if a governor candidate, in this case, a super Republican majority legislature all of a sudden had to deal with a Democrat as governor. What I will tell you, though, is that it is a disaster for the Libertarian Party and liberty movement generally to assume that anything that DeSantis has been able to achieve or any the legislature has been able to accomplish in recent years has anything remotely to do with liberty. And that, my friend, and everyone who's watching this around the country, the reality that is a bigger problem than having a Democrat in as governor. But realistically, it's a lot better we just have a libertarian there.
That's right. Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. Cheers to that, brother.
Yeah, everyone take a drink to that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, I said this on some comment thread where someone was talking about why are we doing this, and we're a political party, man. We run political candidates, and we can differ from Republicans and Democrats the same way. We can pull from Republicans and Democrats in the same way, right? So
you sound a lot like Star Wars right now. Just saying.
No. Well, okay.
Yeah.
But
leave my boy Nick alone, bro.
Yeah, look. I'm just saying a balanced platform is all you need to take those people who are saying you're only taking from DeSantis away, because I'm in the Panhandle, and that is a concern up here.
Exactly, Joe.
Look,
you
man.
motherfucker, you don't listen to Joe just because he's a political candidate. I'm on this podcast, Hector.
Yeah, I want to point out something. If any of you, the reality is that I'm the first people who are going to come and vote for me are going to be people who are not voting for DeSantis, Fried, or Crist. They're people who are likely going to just stay home. They're going to be disaffected gun owners who see that they're not represented in Tallahassee. They're going to be the homeschool moms who see that the state government wants to intrude on the way their kids are educated. They want to basically maintain the co-parenting model of government, even into have 25 years old for their children, and not have their kids be independent and basically mature adults. These are the people that we answer to, and at the end of the day, the Libertarian Party has to find these groups that are people who identified as disaffected. They don't see the solutions that we presented, and at the end of the day, this is the recruiting ground we have. Candidates, and like Joe Hanush, like me, like Frank Kraft, like Dennis Misagoy, are the number one recruiters for the Libertarian Party. Period. End of story. Nobody ever would even hear about a libertarian if they didn't first meet a candidate that was spouting libertarian principles, using the word libertarian on occasion. But basically, this is the only way that movements move people. And like most of us here are got in here because of this guy, Ron Paul.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right on my shoulder. You guys can see that?
Absolutely
Yeah.
can. And I agree.
Perfect placement, Hector. Good placement.
Very perfect place.
Good
And since we're coming here close to the end, gonna go around the horn and see if anyone has anything specific that they want to ask or make a comment on for Hector. Mitch, starting off with you, Mitch.
As far as I think we just about touched on everything as far as like my concerns go and everything. Just as your final pitch, what would you say to someone like me who's ready to vote for DeSantis on a defensive level after the lockdowns?
The unfortunate truth is that defensive voting was sold on us. It was sold on us by Republicans. It was always a lie.
No, that was from Lysander Spooner.
Right. It's still statistically and strategically not work in Florida, particularly not in Florida. It may work somewhere else under different conditions that I'm not aware of. But like for example, the idea of a divided government in the presidential, we have one party controlling one part of government and another controlling like the White House versus Congress, right? There makes sense there for defensive voting because the checks and balances are in place. But when you have when you're considering the difference between a supermajority Republican dominated legislature and the governor's mansion, look at all the mischief they're causing when they're all together on the same boat. And we want to say that right now the biggest threat to liberty in Florida are Republicans. So why would you be convinced that defensive voting is going to do any good at this point?
Also, Hector, I'm going to cut you off. Mitch, you're in Orlando. You're in Orange County. That is a highly Democratic county.
Yeah, I know, and I've considered running for public office here just to screw over Democrats.
Well, keep thinking about it.
Oh, okay, I will.
Okay.
Okay, like
I'm just saying,
Make
Mitch
a
is
fucking
always,
decision, dude.
No, okay, no. It's like Tim pointed this out to me. Mitch is like, whenever you hit Mitch up, he's like, "Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I've been thinking, like,
always.
I've really been pondering this."
Mitch,
lately.
did you get a text
Dude,
message from me
fucking
about running for office?
Yeah, that's the funny thing about that, Hector. The messages from the caucus are also going out to members of my family. I don't know how their numbers ended up with me. Like they're getting messages of, hey, Mitch, it's Hector from the Mises. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Recruiting the entire Mitch Connor family.
Dude, my wife got one too.
We do it.
My wife got one too. I sent a screenshot.
Hey, Tim Crosby.
She sent me a reply. Yeah.
Yeah, she sent me a screenshot of it with like the crying laughing emoji, and I sent it to Hector. I was like, "You fucked up, bro. She's not interested at all."
Hector's trying to get me to run for a soil and water board up here up until last week when the bill passed. Woo! Thank God that bill passed because I'm not running for a soil and water board, Hector. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
bud.
we want a real attorney to actually sue the state of Florida over that. By the way.
I
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm trying to find one.
Yeah, I know. Well, since
He's
you
not one
jumped in
yet.
here, Mr. Not a Lawyer, do you have anything else
Yeah,
you
where
want
can
to
we
say?
find a real lawyer there, Rob?
I'm
That
working
doesn't
on
bang
it,
his
bud.
stepsister.
I'm working on it, but not banging her anymore. I'm single as fuck, ladies.
Oh, great, yeah.
so
No
you're
milk
not
toast,
bending her
ladies.
over in the dryer no more? That's great.
Really wasn't my stepsister because I have blasted this out on my social media. So there could be some of my friends watching this. Not real steps. It's an inside
Your real friends.
Good catch. All right. Serious though.
Tim?
Rob.
Yeah.
No, you
right,
were
go on,
asking Rob if he has anything. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, what? Sorry. What?
Anything
No,
for
do you have
Hector?
any-
Questions, comments,
anything?
otherwise.
Yeah. No, I'll just ask you on the decrim side of things. How are libertarians better than Democrats?
Decrim?
Is that
Well, the first thing
is that a
I'll tell you,
serious question?
It is because the first thing I would do as governor is I would read all sentencing for nonviolent drug offenses. I would and I would certainly expunge them from all the records, and I would be able to do that unilaterally as governor. So that would be the first thing. That would be the very, very first thing. And I will tell you both, I do not see either Democrat or Republican candidates for governor having the balls to do that themselves.
No, and Hector, I just want to say, because Tim got mad. I don't know if he got mad at this question, but a lot of people in the liberty circle get mad at me for harping on decrim and legalization, and they say it's a non-issue. It's not a non-issue. People are wasting away in prison right now because of minor possession charges. And just shut the fuck up, Mitch. Just shut the fuck up. I'm talking right now. But and if we are absolutely better on this. Someone said and I was like,
shut the fuck up, Mitch.
Someone's like, and look, we are absolutely better than Democrats on this because they're the only ones even talking about decrim or legalization of anything. So it's an important question. Don't say it's a non-issue as a libertarian just because you're concerned about your guns. Sorry, Tim. Like, whatever. Just flip your knife. Do whatever. Getting mad. I don't know.
Why are you talking shit to me, bro? I'm listening to you. Waiting for my turn.
Yes,
Tim.
Yes, you slammed your table when you left away because I said something about decrim. It's an issue.
Are libertarians better than Democrats on decrim? Is what you asked,
That's
and
what
that
he was
was not
missing.
worth my fucking time.
It's a simple question on purpose. I could ask a more convoluted question and say, why does normal self-regulate itself as an advocate for marijuana legalization? Why do we do
He doesn't
this?
have an answer for that. You're supposed to ask Hector a question.
Hector, that's a question. It's a softball question because we are better on it. But like at the same time, it's for people who are not libertarians who are watching this later.
Tim,
Fair.
we're gonna make you.
There's gonna be non-libertarians watching this later.
To simplify all
Question
this,
mark?
Tim.
Clip the shit and then send it out and say decrim.
Well, yeah,
policy
Martha's
for
definitely watching. She's
libertarian-
not a libertarian anymore.
Oh,
J. Mark
Martha.
isn't a libertarian anymore.
Hi, Martha.
All these people. Tim.
Election August 23rd.
Yeah. So Tim,
Everybody on the ballot.
it's your turn, brother. Since Bob wanted to get up in
You
your
say
business about slamming tables.
You say my name so much, you remind me of my wife. Okay, so yeah, you sound just like her. Do it deeper, and more ASMR.
And then more drunk,
Listen to that
please.
voice, right?
Like slur it up a lot.
No, go for it, Tim.
All right. So here's the thing. When Hector first announced that he was going to run, I looked over at my wife and I said, he's wasting his fucking time. He's not going to win. This is bullshit. What's going on here? And then I thought about it some more and I was like, well, before Hector said that he was going to run, I would have supported, for instance, Tom Woods run or Mike Mahari run or any of the other people that we asked to run. And I was critical with myself and I was like, what the fuck's going on? Why won't you support Hector? And right now I'm all in for Hector because I think that he understands the situation here. You know, whenever we had Dennis Misagoy on or anybody that's running for federal office, we understand that libertarians are not going to win outright. Like, there's a different purpose to running federal candidates, and we need to represent the party well. We need to represent the message well. We need to push the Overton window or the conversation in the correct direction. And I think Hector, as Rob said earlier, is very knowledgeable on all the stuff that has to do with Florida politics. He knows the ins and outs of all these local races and these county-wide races, these state issues. He knows all this shit. Whenever I have a question about, like, how did we get in this situation, I go to one of two people. It's either Greg Peel or Hector Roos. These two people know what the fuck is going on in the state of Florida every fucking time. And there is no better person that understands the ins and outs than Hector. And so when I see these other people, you know, as Josh said earlier, particularly these out-of-staters, fuck these motherfuckers. You don't live here. Flexit or die, bitch. That's why we said that. We don't give a fuck what you think. We want out this motherfucker, and we want to run our own shit. Okay? So I look at all these criticisms, and I wrote a list of them down before we started. So I'm going to burn through them real quick. I don't want to take up too much time. But one of the big things is DeSantis was great on COVID. That motherfucker locked us down in April 1st. April 1st, he put out the stay home safe order. And then, as Hector said, for about 90 days there. I'm getting an echo.
I'm getting an echo.
Y'all gonna fuck up my rant. Y'all let Josh on.
Yeah, what happened there?
Anyway, DeSantis was good on COVID. That's the first year. Fuck that. That motherfucker locked us down for 90 days, at least in the beginning, and then he tried to come back later and said it was all a mistake and tracked on us. I remember at that time, I was a truck driver, and I had to run around with motherfucking papers in my truck that said I was allowed to be here because I had an essential service, an essential business that allowed me to be on the street. Show me your papers. It was real fucking life for 90 days down here. People tend to forget it was real. And then when the schools started states and
Man,
their own lives and all that kind of
Robot
shit.
AIDS.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no one. I mean, freaking Tim is going off too hard.
Listen,
so
let me say something.
Yes,
let me say you had gyms that were closed. They were banned to be opened, while you had liquor stores and strip clubs that were allowed to stay open during the lockdowns. You know, the reality is that schools were closed, gyms were closed. They tried to shut down churches. I mean, but the only things that were allowed to be open were strip clubs and liquor stores, and groceries. If you at approved hours, that's really what we're looking at. And I'll tell you, not much has changed. I'll tell you, I put in the chat earlier that DeSantis also signed into law today. Yesterday, that where essentially he approved the merger of the extension of the immigration powers to local law enforcement in Florida. So now our police, all police throughout the entire state of Florida, can basically ask for your papers, even right now, and ask you where you're going and why you're going there. So if you're telling me that we are on the path to a better, greater liberty experience, or just even maintaining what we have already, I'm sorry to say this is we're living basically more lockdowns coming soon. Just the crisis this time is just going to be, there's no emergency. This is just going to be the new normal. And that's really what Tim's saying.
Yeah, no, we can't allow that to happen down here. Josh, do you have any last words or comments you want to make about Hector or to Hector?
I mean, I don't really have many questions. Like, I don't have any questions. Obviously, I'm in a large support for Hector running for governor. First off, thank you for running. I'm glad it's not me here. I I don't understand what the complaint is from people in the state who don't like Hector's running. Like, if you're really a supporter
They're
of
fucking
like
pussies.
the liberty movement and
That's the
liberty as a
problem.
whole, like you understand what this is about. And, you know, kind of like Tim, like what brought me to this whole movement, like to like really get involved is it was kind of a two-factor thing. One, I was a I remember my business being shut down that I worked at, my boss telling me, hey, go home, you know, we're shutting down. I got a call a week later, we all got put on furlough, and I spent the next 9 months sitting at home. No job, kept being told that I was not essential. We'll open when we reopen. I was one of the last workers in my company to come back to work in the entire country. I think I was the last in Florida, one of the last 25 in the entire United States. And then on top of that, throughout all of that, I had to watch my grandmother pass away. Like, and just the circumstances around it where, you know, instead of her getting quality medical treatment so that she could spend, you know, her last days in comfort, I watched a bunch of hospital officials so afraid of a fake fucking pandemic that they rushed through procedures, completely disregarded like any kind of safety protocols that they had, and essentially expedited my grandmother's death in my face, and then shrugged their shoulders at us when we asked what the fuck happened and went, oh well, it's COVID, you guys can't come in, we're not liable to tell you. So I watched somebody who should have had, you know, a few months to a few, you know, weeks to go peacefully, go away in a couple of days. And, you know, that kind of realization that really nobody gives a fuck and that you got to look out for you and your own, you know, that's what led me to this movement. And that's what led me to support Hector in the big scope of things, is that we're all we got at the end of the day. You know, the liberty movement isn't going to grow. It isn't going to advance by supporting fake liberty advocates like Ron DeSantis. He's not advancing the liberty needle. He has not, will not, and won't ever advance that needle. It's just a reality. And if what it takes to move that Overton window that we keep talking about is running the first candidate since Adrian Wiley in 2014, then I'm proud to support that as the Libertarian Party of Florida's vice chair. Because guess what? In the entire history of our state party, before Hector Roos, we've won one candidate. Once again, Adrian Wiley. We've failed as a political party to run candidates on a big platform where they have a chance to spread our message, spread the party's brand and its image, to talk to the people down at their own level about what we represent, our principles, what we stand for as an organization and as an institution in this country. So for people, especially inside of the Libertarian Party, to denounce, shoot down the idea of running Hector Roos against Ron DeSantis or Charlie Crist or Nikki Fried, like, that's a cowardly position that y'all are holding. Because if you're worried about Nikki Fried, that shows me that you're really not for liberty. If you're worried about Charlie Crist, you're not really for liberty. Because let's go back to 2014 when we ran Adrian Wiley. You know what Adrian Wiley did? He got Rick Scott elected, you dumb fucking retards. You don't know history, so you're doomed to repeat it, you fuck-ass retards. We drew so many votes away from the Democratic Party because they were so disenfranchised with fake fucking Democrat Charlie Crist, who had flip-flopped through 3 different party affiliations to get to where he was at that point, that they didn't vote. And I talked to people who are hardcore Democrats and who live in this state, who all, when I brought up Hector Roos, they've signed on to his Facebook invites, they've followed his Twitter pages, and all of them have asked me, hey, when's his website go inactive? I want to look at his platform before I donate to his campaign, because they're so disenfranchised. So for those of you who are stupid enough to think that Hector's going to ruin DeSantis' run for governor, you clearly don't understand politics, You clearly don't understand power or influence or how to gain any of that within politics. So sit down before you hurt yourselves. You're not meant for this game. Stop. Oh, you're ahead. Your fucking critiques and your criticisms for something you're more level-headed at, like, you know, UFC or pro sports. Like, I know you guys are great at that shit. You love that shit. I know you pay all kinds of attention. Like, I get it. You're not politic people. You're not like, you're very great intellectuals. You're secondhand dealers of fucking like ideas, but you're not smart people. Stop. Like,
right, I'm a Kathy Newman, you Josh. So what you're saying is we should switch our affiliations to Democrats just to vote in the primaries and get Charlie Chris in so that Hector has a better chance.
I think that's what I heard. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
actually, you should. There's actually more Democrats who hate Nikki Fried. Like, I talked to so many Democrats, so I bring Charlie Chris and Nikki Fried. Like, I can't. Like, they don't even know who Charlie Chris is.
He was governor.
In my own
fucking governor for 4 years.
They don't even.
Or 2 years.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Too long.
Because he was Republican.
Yeah.
I just
he was Republican when he ran. That's why they
lost to Rubio as an
Charlie Chris is like a less charming Lincoln Chafee.
All right, so that's highly accurate, Mitch, for a number of reasons. But I'm not even going to talk about that. Josh, I just wanted to point out, on top of what you're saying, the last time when Adrian Wiley ran, we had 250,000 votes. 250,000 votes. There are 54,000 registered libertarians.
3.75%.
Right. There are
3.75% of the votes.
There are about 54,000 registered libertarians here, so our message resonates with more than just our party, right?
People.
Right, yeah. So highly autistic, you know, people who like drugs, people who like guns, like everything in between. And Hector, you're gonna beat that. I am fully confident that you're gonna get over 250,000 votes at least. Hell, you might even win the damn thing. We'll see what happens. But I just wanted to make the point that we can reach out to these people, and with the right message, we can get the votes. It's not about if you're a libertarian or not. It's about if you're disenfranchised and you're not happy with the system. And no one's fucking happy with the system right now.
No one. Well, Hector, thank you very much for joining us this evening. You're always hanging. You're always a good friend with the fucking Swamp Creatures. Is there any last second plugs you want to get in, brother?
You know, the reality is that we have reached a point in our government, in our relationship with government, that we do have a lot more to fear from our politicians run amok. And really, at this point, we don't have anything to lose but to try. So this is us trying. And to everybody who's been watching this, I want to wish you a happiness, and I want to wish your liberty to be protected wherever you are. And if you want to support the cause, you can always go to roosforflorida.com. Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you very much. roosforflorida.com. Appreciate it. Appreciate all y'all guys joining us this evening, and hope to see you all.
Don't you fucking end it.
Wait,
Don't fucking end it.
I got it.
No, don't you end it.
Yeah, please. Don't end it. Yeah.
Go ahead. What else you want, Tim?
Go some other plugs. No, I got a special one. I got a special one.
Okay, fine.
No. Wait,
I think I know what Tim's gonna do.
It better not be.
You have no idea.
If you're doing my favorite, Tim, don't do it. I'm gonna ask as a personal favor, don't do that one if it's my favorite.
First,
can I go first?
Rob, give me your plug.
All right.
I'm gonna plug. I've been gone for a while, and this was the best episode to come back on. I'm glad I'm back. I just want to plug everyone in the chat. We had Joe Hanous, who's running for candidacy. We had Reed Coverdale. We had Liberty Dad from Jacksonville. We had Jeff Douglas from the Mises Caucus. This was a great show. We had good people tuned in because we're running a candidate for Florida fucking governor. Hector, that's all because of you. thank you for running for governor. And you already see what kind of crowd it attracts in the liberty sphere. Imagine once we push this message out and say what our liberty messaging can, like, just imagine what our messaging can do. That's what I'm saying.
I appreciate that. By the way, if you want to actually see me in person, I'll be in Jacksonville next weekend with a political action training over there, and frankly all weekend. So if you want to see me, you can just come by to the event. I'll post more information on my page, and I look forward to everybody who wants to come out. And we have actually scholarships for people who actually want to learn how to do this. And come on out. Our tickets are worth $40.
And I also want to say I was talking to the LP Escambia people today at our meeting, and we want to hold an event for you at a Pensacola thing. I just need to work with you after the show for maybe like 2 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Josh, do you have a plug? Good sir.
Well, yep, I have a couple actually. So first, I want to congratulate all of the Libertarian Party of Florida members who qualified for public office campaigns over the last 48 hours. I said this on Facebook, but I want to reiterate this. I feel like a proud parent coming in. When I started with this party a little over a year ago, we didn't really have any candidates on the ballot. When I remember 2020, I don't remember any Libertarian Party members of Florida running for any office that I was aware of out here. And maybe I wasn't paying attention hard enough, but, once again, shout out to guys like Joe Hanoush, like Dennis Misigoy, Frank Kraft, Matt Johnson, Nathan Slusher, Rob Klimkowski, Brian Flemings, Ronald Tracy Robinson, Eric Parker, Pastor Tubb. I can keep going on and on and on. Mercedes Marassi. All of these guys are great libertarian candidates. They're all running for really important campaigns. If you don't know who I'm talking about, please go Google their name, donate to their campaign. Otherwise, Hector, I want to thank you again. I appreciate you stepping up where a lot of people wouldn't, and just didn't have the courage to in this political climate. So, otherwise, check me out on Twitter. You can add me on Facebook if you see me on there. Otherwise, come join the LPF, join the Mises Caucus. I'm now a regional organizer for the National Mises Caucus. So if you guys are coming in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, you'll probably run into me at some point once you get involved. So look out for me. Don't be afraid to say hi, reach out, connect, shoot me a DM. My door is always open to you guys. I love you all. You're great people. Please, I love this movement. Let's keep growing this party together.
I was just not going to share that one. Who did it?
I'm going to share that one because
honestly, I was hoping one of you was going to share that so I could do my plugs. Oh, hell yeah.
Your plug.
Yeah. Go check me out on Twitter at MiCauc. I'd be shit posting a lot more lately. So making Twitter fun again. No longer simping for Tulsi Gabbard now that I know Myra Flores exists. And, if you love this shirt, or if you don't, I don't give a fuck because we also sell libertarian stuff on the site too. So, go check out 1776 Swag where prices have dropped because I listened to Top Lobster and I moved to his distributor. So now you're getting that Top Lobster quality.
Next time you have to let me go before Mitch. This is bullshit.
No.
You actually did it? Oh, Jake, go to it. Go, do it.
You can't follow Mitch.
No, I can. I was telling everybody in chat, but make sure you join the Discord because we're going to do some after party stuff and we'll talk a little more offline. I'm sure Hector will join us too if you want to talk to him more directly. So do all of that. But I made this especially for you, Mitch.
Anyways, go check out my Twitter at MichConnorJLo, and go check out 1776 Swag, where we got tons of new stuff, new merch in there, as well as some band stuff like the Mises Reese's shirt.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Beautiful.
You told me I can't do the cannabis plug anymore, but go get the Mises Reese's shirt.
Give me another one. I had a hole in my heart.
Oh, what happened to the cannabis plug?
We'll talk about it.
We don't talk about that
We'll talk about it in the after show. Here we go.
Don't talk about that no more, bro.
No. So once again, Hector, thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for running. Thank you for giving us all the reason to believe again. And thank you all for joining us on Swamp Creatures episode number 48. And y'all have a fucking nice evening, all right?